two different ones. And
Okay.
I'll start with the Stormwater Parks and Rec.
Okay.
Did we leave, and I just don't remember. We have a million 444 left in the parks, and, excuse me, 1,114,209 left in the parks. Did we leave that there for a reason? Because I thought that was going towards the community center. Am I wrong?
No, I don't believe so, sir.
I thought it was
believe
for,
that the intent, that it was left there, but there's going to be a lot of furnishings and a lot of startup costs, a lot of purchases
And
that we made over the next.
that's what
few
that was
months,
intended for.
Okay,
That's going to draw that down.
okay. And then the second thing, Kathy, and you mentioned, I first saw it in the DOA report, and then I noticed that you even asked about, or mentioned it for the golf course. Expenses increased significantly.
From the
What was-
prior month.
Yeah, what was the expense that went up so much? I mean, it went up $27,000.
I think a portion of that was in the salary line.
Okay.
And Clay can correct me if I'm wrong, I thought there was a fair expense for chemicals, that kind of thing, if I remember correctly.
That's correct.
Thanks, Clay.
So was there an adjustment to the salary line, or, I mean, you mentioned?
No.
I guess I'm kind of confused. Well, okay. We'll have a conversation about it later.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
Motion to approve the financial report.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any
Thank
other
you, Ken.
questions? I'll call for the question. All those in favor say yes.
Yes.
And opposed, no. Thank you, Ms. Holstein.
Ask Darrell to come up.
Darrell Dunlap, you're requested at the podium, sir.
Based on we've already approved some of the minutes, but this isn't minutes, but Darrell had some things he talked about yesterday at the utility board that the council needs to know about, and the council would like the council to give the blessing, but it's things that we need to / have to do, so go ahead.
Okay, the south lift station, that's the one, if you turn on Colt Sandestin heading toward the fire stations, in behind that substation right there. It's a 2-pump station. One pump is bad. The valves won't hold to change the pump. Then we lost one of the motor controls. We have some motors, but we can't get them in, basically, or some pumps. We contacted Van Deventer, since it's kind of limping along now, and that's who helped us with Route O. Engineering and myself worked with Van Deventer, and we came up with a solution, we hope. And Van Deventer will be supplying pumps similar or just like Route O's, and would be installing it. We would be tying into the force main. We'd be handling a lot of the electrical work, and that price is $166,863 on it as far as depth of the wet well and things like that on the water side. And we took a water purity sample on the storage tank today, and hopefully it'll come out positive tomorrow. We're trying to get it back online. Well 6 will be down about 2 days. That's what Flynn estimated the timeline for.
So of the things that Darrell just told you, the last discussion on well 4, that's just operational maintenance. That's just, we do it, we take care of it. But the rebuilding of the Cote Sandestin lift station and the repairing of 6, those are going to be some high dollar, unbudgeted. They have the funds available. Guys, there's some things that are optional, and there's some things that aren't. Keeping clean water going to the houses in this community, I'd say, is something that's not optional. If the council doesn't have any further questions, we can either put it on the agenda for next council meeting, so that it's, or give a nod that it's going to be okay to go ahead and get these projects done and get started and bring it back next council meeting anyway.
Mr. Mayor, I move that we accept the recommendations from the utility board and move forward with funding these repairs.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Would you say that the replacement of the lift pumps is just an aging out deal?
Yeah, it's just an aged out deal. I mean, it was an old design done back in the 80s where you opened the hatch and you went down in a tube 15, 20 feet. And that's where all your piping and your pumps and your controls are. And, you know, humidity and stuff just gets to them over time, and it's just old.
Now, the lift station down at Cote Sandestin does not pump a lot of gallons every day. Even though it takes care of a pretty good sized portion of town, it's not pumping a lot of gallons. And there is, I'm not trying to talk you guys out of what you guys just voting on, but there is a large overflow basin right adjacent to it. So if it quit tonight, we're not going to be in trouble until the morning. But if Route O ever just stops,
It goes to the creek.
we got 3 minutes, we got 5 minutes before we're in violation. Down there in Route O, based on the size of that holding, a couple days.
Probably a couple of days, and it's just a two pump station. That's one reason it's so
So
much
it's-
cheaper. And then Kyle and I worked with Vanderventor and basically got something that we could have as many spare parts as we could for Route O and it swapped back and forth. So we would have some similarities between them. But it is a lot simpler station.
So does Willow Creek flow into that?
That'd be a Kyle question. No,
It doesn't?
Goes the other
Okay.
way.
no.
Okay.
Your Braun's house goes to it.
Yep.
If I get up in the morning and I don't have water,
Well, you're going to have
Call
water.
it. Oh,
you'll
It's just
have
going to
water.
be brown.
You have water, you just won't be able to get rid of it.
Dump it out the back door.
just open the back door.
Yeah. Daryl,
Don't make
Yes,
my
ma'am.
mama mad.
isn't it true, is there another lift station out there where we're at now? Aren't they getting ready to build a bigger one? Another lift station out on South Winds out there?
Out by the lake, down there by the lake, there's a lift station there, yes.
So there's not, it's already there. We
It's
haven't-
already there.
Just wanted to make sure.
This station pumps from down there at the creek and behind the substation, and it discharges up by that church that's on C. There's about 92
Just
feet
north of
ahead.
C in Tennyson,
Okay.
there's a lift station right there that,
Okay.
And this would happen this year, within the next
Yes, we
couple
need to,
months.
we need to try to get the timeline as tight as we can.
All right, I have a motion and a second. Any other discussion on this? Hearing none, I'll call for the question. All those in favor say yes.
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 And opposed, no. Thank you.
Thanks, Daryl.
All righty. Moving on to unfinished business, we'll talk again about recycling yard waste and household hazardous waste. We did get some additional information over the last couple of weeks. And I don't remember exactly where we left off, but we kind of came to a standstill. But the proposal has been listed again in our packet of what the administration has presented us, options that we can do to come up with the shortfall that we've been experiencing and we're going to continue to experience if we don't do something.
Mr. Mayor, I have a couple of follow-on questions from the email discussion.
Yep.
Mr. Johnson, have you gotten any information from our recycling vendor that would provide us some value-added information?
not as much as I would hope. I have learned that we had Wendy contact them. They're not willing to share a whole lot of detail with us, but as far from the standpoint of what don't they want, they would just as soon not have any, they would only like number 1 and number 2 plastics.
Okay.
And then I did some research and kind of sent you guys some information. right today, virgin first-time plastic is actually cheaper for the producer, for the bottle maker than recycled plastic. Part of that has to do with the pandemic. There is such a, we've noticed in our gas receipts revenue line item that people just aren't driving like they're used to, so they have a lot of oil and a lot of gasoline production potential. And shipping that to produce plastics is one way they're getting rid of all the excess oil that they have. So that's one reason that the price of the raw material has come down so much.
And then what about the paper and the cardboard?
It doesn't matter whether if it's very clean cardboard, they would take it separate, but we don't have the quantity or the ability, or I don't think the households would have the interest in keeping their cardboard that clean and that separated. So the single stream on the paper is still just, it's called mixed paper. Mixed paper is very acceptable.
Okay. So I guess along that line of conversation, my assumption is that if we were to place the items of value into our recycling program and provide that information to the citizens, that this is truly what's accepted. It's not every piece of plastic, it's not what you think might be recyclable, but truly we need to look on the bottle, we need to look on the item and make sure that it's a 1 or a 2 and it's got the symbol and all of that. Then I guess my assumption is then our total volume would go down, and the value of that stream of recycled material that's going to the vendor would be more valuable to them. And then our recycling program would be sustainable.
I will agree with the first statement you made. Our volume would go down. I don't know that they would charge us less.
No, and I'm not assuming that they're going to charge us less per ton, but our volume will go down, so our total cost will go down. And then at some point, they may find value in what we're sending them, and our cost will go down because they're not having to touch it again.
Okay.
All assumptions.
I agree.
And I feel that's the direction we need to. My opinion is that's the direction we need to go with our recycling program, is make it valuable to our vendor, make it valuable to our citizens, and continue offering the program as close to what we have today.
Understood.
I have a little bit different concern. So as I'm going through the city budget, I have questions. I see a couple of line items on revenue that are decreased pretty significantly, and I'd like a little explanation on that. We have some expenses that are the other way. Are we just trying to offset the number to say that we need the increase, or do we truly need it?
I don't know where you.
Okay, page 103, if anybody wants to go to page 103 of their budget.
Are we going to the budget now?
This is in the solid waste budget?
The solid
Councilman
waste
Braun?
budget,
Okay.
yes. Page 103. And I gotta go straight. So under industrial services, we 2018 was audited at 190,000. 2019 was audited at 221. Adopted for the 2020 was 2010, and we budgeted 180,000. That's a $30,000 difference. Is there? I mean, I don't understand how we went backwards on trash.
Well, and Kathy can help me out on this, but look at the combination of industrial and commercial.
Okay.
A lot of it depends on how that bill gets coded. So you look at those two lines together.
Okay.
And we've also seen a little bit of, we base next year's numbers, we take the audited numbers into consideration, and then when we're doing the budget, we actually show 6 months numbers, columns as well, but then we hide them for the printing, okay? So we look at how much we brought in for, like, through June of 18 compared to the audited number. And then we look at the June of 19 compared to the audited number of 2019, okay? Well, when it came to doing 2021, we had the June number, the actual June number, just as we did. And on some of them, it just transposes across very close to 50%. And sometimes it's over, and sometimes it's less. And John, it's a guess. It's an estimate based on historical values, based on where we think it's going. But if you look too, then the commercial service is up $10,000 from last year.
And the demolition revenue
A
is
lot
down
of that-
84,000
A lot of that is
or
just
85,000.
a lot of that is because people haven't. If you look in, it's actually $2,000 more than the audited in 2019. That's what we get for the roll-off containers when houses are taken down. And then I'm guessing so far in 2020, I don't have those numbers in front of me right now, but the demolition revenue was down significantly from the June of 19 and the June of 18, or June of 18 specifically. And so we made an estimate that 2021 would come in at about 140.
And then the total operating revenue, we're still $40,000 plus underneath on the 2 audited years that we show on the budget.
We are.
So is there not an adjustment that you would feel comfortable making with revenue on that?
Not until I looked at the numbers again. I mean, we can definitely look at those numbers again, and when we come back in 2 weeks, give you a little more detail as to what we saw at the 6-month numbers compared to the year-end numbers, and why we came up with the numbers we came up with.
And then, and in that same sense, you look over to expenses, 25,517-1050, and we've increased our part-time summer help significantly over the 2 audited years. I mean, one year it's almost 29,000. The other year it's $11,341. Is that just an error, or?
We'll have to look.
Part of it might be that we lost the
We lost the-
ability to use the
We lost the
prisoners.
inmates.
The FRDC guys. That might be part of it.
And then household waste was up, but I may have an answer to that. You know, I'm just looking at what we're budgeting versus both revenue and expenses, and then what we're looking to go after as we talk about an increase. Do I think that recycling needs to be talked about separately? Maybe, without a doubt. But there's just loopholes that. And then on what is recycling contract? It's 25,519, 3,300. We have it for an expense of $22,000 that we've never had a line item for in any audited years, or even adopted last year. We're adding an additional $22,000 for
What line is that, John?
25-519-3300.
That's where, okay,
That's the actual cost of the recycling that we're paying for, correct? The 4
that's
tons per week?
that's what we're paying to Federated in Jeff City. And if you look at a couple lines above that, at the tipping fees, tipping fees is down. In previous years, we were including those tipping fees for the recycling in the tipping fees line item, but they began coding those separately into that contract and into that expense. So that number was included as 22,000, and it was backed off of the tipping fees line item above it.
So we backed off 5,000, it's still, so you think that our total for the year is $17,000 difference? Is that what I'm
I don't understand the
seeing?
question.
So your tipping fees for 2021 proposed is 375,
Yeah.
375,000, and then the recycling contract is 22,000. Over prior year, you backed off 5,000 on the tipping fees, but added 22,000. So that's a $17,000 difference.
But if you look at 2019, we're actually still less
Below.
than we did in 2019. John, these are all estimates. These are all,
I understand that, Bill, but we want to go ask for an increase from our citizens, and I feel like I need to at least ask the question and understand how the numbers are coming up with as the budget's here in front of me.
and I am more than interested and willing to sit here and discuss these with you.
So,
And I may not have an answer for every one of your questions tonight, but we will do our best to find an answer.
it's just things that look odd to me.
Sure.
That's all I have on recycling for right now.
Okay,
Or
so,
or the discussion of recycling yard waste.
we did actually get something
Well,
accomplished last meeting with the yard waste. We still have to figure something out here, though.
Mr.
Go
Mayor,
ahead, Mr. Simmons.
go ahead,
from,
Mr. Simmons.
from listening to all the discussions in the last month, 2 months, whatever, on recycling, from both citizens and other members of the city, it sounds like we want to keep recycling. But we need to make sure we recycle the correct stuff. And maybe it would help to put that out, as Jeff said, to the citizens. This is, again, I know we did it once, like pizza boxes. Can't do that.
Yep.
This is the stuff we want you to recycle, or we need you to recycle. But it sounds like everybody should have a recycle cart. We can't keep asking our truck drivers to get out of the vehicle and pick up stuff off the curb. So that means we need to order more carts. Do we charge more for those carts? I think we charge $1 a month right now, correct? I think last meeting, the number of $9 a month was thrown out, which kind of got ignored. $5 a month got thrown out, which people didn't like. $2 a month got thrown out. And comments were it's going to take 5 years to pay off the cost of the cart itself. Sounds like none of the numbers that we're throwing out are going to make this project pay for itself. It sounds like we just need to go ahead, we continue recycling. We need to make sure everybody's recycling the correct stuff. Everybody that wants to recycle needs to have a cart. Right now, they would have to pay $1 per cart. If we want to raise that to $2 a cart, we can talk about that.
It's been at
But-
$1 since the inception many years ago. I don't think that's out of the question to.
It's,
Definitely.
but I think we need to keep recycling. I think we need to give the city, we the council need to give the city some guidance rather than keep talking about it every 2 weeks. We need to come up with an answer, and just like we did with the yard waste, let's just do it. Because we've got to get more carts if we're going to do it this way.
Yeah, Columbia is, as an example, they've talked about doing roll carts for as long as I can remember. And one of the councilmen said that if they just keep kicking the can down the road, it's making the problem worse. They can't keep, staff now. I think they're 30% understaffed.
Well, didn't they stop curbside recycling?
Yes, I believe they did.
I know they've got drop-off places all over the city.
Yeah, they've temporarily stopped curbside because they haven't got the staff to pick it up.
Okay, okay.
But I guess my point is, if we see a problem, let's try to fix it before it gets to be a festering wound.
Well, right now, it sounds like we're taking recycling from citizens. We're causing the truck driver to get in and out of his vehicle a lot. It's costing the city a lot of money versus just regular trash pickup. We could at least alleviate some of that by limiting what goes into recycling, by making the truck driver more efficient in picking up the recycling, and maybe charge a tiny bit more per cart. Is $2 a month too much to ask? That's what the council needs to decide. But I think we need to continue recycling, and we need to recycle them using the carts.
I agree. I think you're right there. The council does need to make a decision. And I think if we went to $2, that's not asking more than, I think that would help a lot. I agree there. And yeah, everyone needs a cart. You recycle, use a cart. That would alleviate a lot.
Anyone else have thoughts on that?
Or a motion, right, anything.
In a perfect world, yes. You can tell them that you're going to put this in and that, and you know that's not going to happen.
Well, you
People
can
are gonna throw
try.
whatever they want in it. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? But it needs to be offered, I think. I still think it needs
Yeah,
to be
there's
offered.
ways we can inform the public through social media, through our newsletter, about trying to put the right things in as well.
Yeah, Darren's back there in the control room. He'll do an article and get it on the website and on Facebook in the near future and put it in the next version of the newsletter.
Mr. Mayor, in order to continue this conversation in a positive way, I will make a motion that participation in the city curbside recycling program would require a cart starting January 1, and that we raise the monthly cart rental to $2 per cart.
I'll second that.
Very
So-
good.
Okay,
Have a motion and a second. Any
well,
It
discussion?
will take effect when we're able to secure a correct number of carts.
that's what I was,
Correct,
We're gonna have
yeah.
to go,
But
we're
it
gonna have to
will-
go,
Might
But
take
it
a
would
little
not
bit.
take effect prior to January 1. This will give opportunity for feedback from the citizens,
sure.
and it will give us an opportunity to place orders
For a cart.
for carts. It'll give opportunity for the citizens to reach out to us and request carts or
and
turn them in.
can we modify your motion to say that as of January 1, we will not pick up from the curb?
Yes,
Once
that
we
was
have-
that was the
I would-
assumption of my motion. Mr.
Okay.
Simmons.
Once we have enough carts available.
Well, right.
Once everybody that wants a cart has a cart.
And if I'm not mistaken, in the budget we had for 2021, there was money in there for $20,000. Watch, I won't be able to find it.
Was that right?
And if we're informed that no, we don't have adequate time to order adequate number of carts, we can always change that date
just-
later on,
Or just say not before,
not before.
when it's appropriate.
Yes.
And we will we will let everybody know when we get the carts and get them set.
So we could still go ahead with the newsletters
Yeah.
and the Facebook and all that other
It'd be great,
stuff.
it'd be great, that way we can get a concept of how many carts we're gonna need to order and/or how many people are gonna turn carts in
Right.
for carts that we wouldn't have to order.
Right. So we've got, what, 30 people on the waiting list approximately?
I think that's the number I heard, Robert, is that right?
30 and 50,
30
whoa.
and 50?
Well, there's 50 to 75 houses that Solid Waste reported are currently utilizing curbside recycling without a cart.
Every day,
Right.
not just one day, that's every day. So we're talking
So that'd be
a
times
couple of
5
hundred,
routes.
a
Yep.
couple of hundred people.
So, Madam Clerk, do
Yeah, I was
you
going
have
to say, I just
a?
want to make sure that I have this correct, since there's a lot of discussion there.
Yeah.
So, beginning no sooner than January 1st, a city-issued cart will be required to continue participating in the recycling program, and cart fees will be increased to $2 per month.
That is my
correct?
motion.
Okay,
Madam
thank
Yeah,
you.
and I second it. Mhm.
Very good. Any more discussion on this?
But could you read that again, please?
Yes, beginning no sooner than January 1st, a city-issued cart will be required to continue participating in the recycling program, and cart fees will be increased to $2 per month.
Okay, thank you.
Good.
And that was very hard for me to make that motion that way because I am a huge proponent of the curbside recycling. But this is what we need to do in order to keep moving forward.
I just have one question, but is that enough?
Meaning,
For what?
Is that enough to make up for the shortfall
No.
in the
No.
recycling program?
no,
No,
And we can talk about that after we get this before we put it up
It's a
some
ma-
more.
it's a move forward.
I mean, at the very least, it should cover the vendor cost of the recycling program, and how we fund trucks and all of that can be a separate conversation.
I think that's appropriate. At least we're taking steps here.
Right.
So I have a motion and a second. Any more discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the question. All those in favor say yes.
yes.
Opposed, no. All right. So that's still going to leave us, what, 80 and change short, according to our budget research? Is that
Well,
correct?
and then, as remember I reported last council meeting, Gary Youngerman with the county commissioner said they would be willing to assist in funding the household hazardous waste. He'd like to go in at $10,000. That's about a third of the overall direct expense, and our indirect expense would be, we're also doing the staffing. But, if we can get $10,000 out of the county commissioners to help support, or else we, if you guys want them to pay for half, or we could just say, you folks out of town, you can't bring it to us. That's the option. Because we make people register, we make people get a reservation when they're going to show up, and just make them bring in some ID. We could restrict it to the city of Fulton,
So,
Or we could direct bill to the county for,
as long as they agree to be direct billed.
right, we can continue those conversations.
what did you say the percentage was of people outside the city limits?
Oh, it's probably between 40 and 45%.
Okay,
I don't have those. I sent you guys an email 3 months ago.
yeah,
And it was not half, but it was way more than I thought it was going to be.
more than a third.
Yeah. That's kind of where I thought it'd be nice to be able to split it with the county. We're bringing in more of the product, but we are also supplying the site and the labor associated with it. I made him the offer, hey, you guys want to take it over and I'll give you $10,000 a year? He did not jump on that one.
Shifting to yard waste, Mr. Johnson, have we moved the Tennyson?
No, we have not.
What-
We're
what is that
evaluating,
scheduled for?
we're evaluating like the best place up there to put it, and it's going to be, it'll be March or April probably before we move it, right?
Spring break.
Okay, thank you.
It's not going to happen.
How are we planning on informing the public?
We'll put it, well, again, we'll put it in the newsletter, put it on Facebook, we'll put up signs.
Hey,
We'll put it in the paper, yeah.
So with the additional funds from the county and raising the rates on the carts, where do we think we're going to fall as far as what we're going to need to come up with?
I mean, you could look at this so many different ways. It looks like we're still probably $60,000 or $70,000 short of being able to buy the truck every year if we want to buy that truck. Or we could look at it as, let's make these changes and implement these changes and wait 6 months and see where we stand. I mean, it's, with the changes to the recycling program, you know, it might make a big difference. It's also been suggested maybe we don't pick it up every week. Maybe we pick it up every 2 weeks. You know, which would then be a big savings.
Well, for me personally, that would work fine because I only take it down about every 2 weeks. So if I'm like everybody else, I mean, I don't see why that would be a big problem. That's maybe something we should put as a questionnaire on our page.
I know I see a lot of people around my area, they have them out every day. Now, whether they're full or not is a different question.
Yeah. So that might be something we can look into as well.
Yeah.
Yep.
And encourage them to, you know,
I'd
put in
almost-
what we do, recycle items that we can help that way too.
I'd almost go with what Bill said is, before we change too many things, let's go see what this does and evaluate it next year.
Yeah.
You know, 3, 4, or 5 months from now.
The yard waste changes may have a significant change in our cost.
Maybe. We'll
It's
see.
going to should free up a lot of time.
Right.
I think we could probably do a little more education on what is actually yard
That's-
hazardous waste also.
Definitely hard.
That might help eliminate some stuff that we're actually paying to get rid of now that could possibly be paid. We could be paid, or the person bringing it could be paid. There's
Precious metals.
car batteries and stuff like that that
Hazardous, yeah.
actually have core charges and stuff that,
Uh-huh. Pay for.
Very good. Sounds like we kind of tackled this, guys. Fantastic.
Trying.
Is
So there will be Courtney will create an ordinance that will put it on the next agenda for some of these rate changes. Okay?
Very good.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, moving on, we'll get an update from Mr. Dunlap on Smart Grid.
And my apologies, Mr. Dunlap, your line item bled into the previous one. I did not realize you were on the agenda.
I think we pretty much covered it unless somebody else has got some other questions on it with Jeff's question earlier, kind of where we're at. Okay.
How's the new format working? I know we changed kind of who was heading up this project, so to speak. Have we seen some improvement with communication?
I think we've seen some improvement, but we had to pull him off on some other jobs like Route O and Well 4. And so the last couple of weeks he's been not on that particularly. But when he's on it, him and Micah Harris and the electric department's working well together to try to get stuff fixed. And then coordinating with Kathy when she can put stuff in.
Very good. Thank you, Darrell. All right, moving on, we'll talk about our chamber contract again. We did have a good meeting last week. We got a proposed amended contract from the chamber that we all have tonight. And there's a little bit of a narrative. I don't know if you want to go over that, Mr. Johnson.
They, as I kind of discussed that night with them, that it just looked like they wanted to just narrow the focus a little bit. And kind of one reason 5 or 6 years ago when we merged the FADC with the chamber, if a project or an activity came up, well, the chamber would say, that's not on our contract. And the FADC would say, that's not in our contract. So that's one reason that Mayor Benton pushed to get the two organizations to merge. So that if it was economic development, it was the Chamber of Commerce. And I just kind of wonder with some of the additional words that they have proposed to include in the contract, if it's an attempt to narrow, and maybe not, but I just don't want to get in a situation where we ask them to do something that we believe is economic development, and they say, well, no, that's not in our contract, and that's not what we want to do. That's the one thing that I was just kind of curious about. And then the other one was, I think they have requested a 3-year contract. And I think the 1-year contract is good to get us, if for no other reason, to get us all together and all talking about it on an annual basis rather than every 3 years. And then there was another thing in their proposed that I'm very much don't think is a good idea, and that was, it's referred to as an evergreen clause, where it had the automatic renewal. If we didn't come to an agreement, the contract would automatically renew under the current terms and conditions. Under that situation, it just keeps renewing at that rate and at that price, whether we kind of want it to or not. If we sign off on an evergreen contract. I have a little experience in an evergreen contract with another city group of employees.
Well, the evergreen contract can't be in there, and the 1 year versus 3 year isn't quite right, because every year we've got to authorize the money, whatever that number is.
Every year would be subject to annual.
So the evergreen thing is a moot point.
I don't know. That argument didn't work when we were dealing with our union negotiations. Put it that way.
Okay, but if it's not there, we don't have to have an argument.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, if you have a 3-year agreement and you have a set number in it, unless you stipulate what the differences are each year, that's the only way that it would automatically renew at whatever the current rate was.
So I'm saying if we just go to a 1-year contract, no evergreen clause.
No evergreen clause.
We authorize whatever monies we're going to authorize. And that pretty much forces us to sit down with the chamber every year to discuss it before October or before November.
Totally agree.
So they can get their budget set and we can get our budget set.
Definitely.
So I think those two things are pretty important to have no evergreen and a 1-year contract. Now, you mentioned the first item. Oh, shoot.
Narrowing the focus?
None. About that we wanted to do something, we wanted the chamber to do something, and they're saying it's not in the contract.
Or we could get to that.
That concern is not resolved with the existing contract for you? Is that? You had a concern.
Would they be receptive to a clause that said in any other project the city council believes is an economic development project? I'm okay.
Absolutely, yeah, come on up, Kim, please.
Okay, a couple of things. It's really, really, really important, and this is why we ask for ongoing dialogue, right? Because that's how we best learn what your expectations are and what our expectations are, and we meet in the middle, and we find common ground, right? So your speculation about we could ask the chamber to do something that you think is economic development and the chamber doesn't quite see it that same way, that's where we sit down and talk about it. So the changes to the contract were not meant to narrow the focus. It was meant to clean up some of the added upon language that had been evolved over time. Okay, some of that was to clean it up and to state the thoughts and the sentiments, in our opinion, more clearly about the spirit of what was intended, rather than to get focused on the nitty-gritty nuts and bolts, little minutia details. Let's focus on the ideas. Economic development's important, and that's what we're focusing on and wanting to focus on. And so the dialogue is all about establishing ideas of what you think economic development is. And we want that ongoing dialogue, right? That's how we get to a common ground and be happy with the request and the agreement or the whatever it might be, right? We contemplated putting or asking to add a clause into the contract about requiring an ongoing dialogue meeting quarterly, periodically, something, right, to force it. And your point about making the contract renew to force dialogue is legitimate. We don't want to do it here. We want to do it in a nice collaborative way, not at the city council meetings, right? Right.
Yes.
And so we were trying to put forward ideas that would smooth the way for that dialogue to be more easily done. Okay. If that makes sense.
It does, yep. And I think we're all on the same page there. I had thrown out the idea of doing a mid-year evaluation, maybe on your side as well as our side. Just
Absolutely.
See where we're hitting our benchmarks. Maybe
Absolutely.
You're not hitting them.
Yeah.
That way at the end of the year, we're not, saying,
Right.
griping about it. We had
Right.
a chance to fix it.
It's not one way, it's a two-way conversation. And we can openly strategize and plan for, brainstorm about economic development activities, right? Those are the things we want to do together. Because we recognize the investment that the city is making in economic development through choosing the chamber as its partner to do that. And the chamber takes that seriously, right? And we want to fulfill good activities. But sometimes there has to be dialogue for you to understand what the resources are to accomplish those things, the price tags associated with them, and for us to understand the vision and the goal and the target behind them as well.
Sounds like we're on the same page. It really does.
Okay.
So we've kind of, the only other thing we didn't really talk about was the guaranteed seats at different events. And we had talked at the meeting that
Sure.
that's a minor thing.
That doesn't need to be an issue,
That
honestly.
verb,
Yeah, let's get our eyes on the horizon about what, the work that we need to do.
Absolutely.
And those, the presence at the events is welcomed. We would love the city to be at all the events and anybody attend that you want to attend. So the arguing or negotiating about, is it 4 tickets or is it 6 tickets to this one? We don't care. Just come.
Absolutely.
Just come.
Well, it sounds like we're going to probably have something to bounce back to you guys then.
Kim,
after tonight.
I have a question on the sheet that you handed out, if you could,
Sure.
Kim, please. You have the city of Fulton listed at $58,000, and then in parentheses underneath it was $20,000 for sponsorship. I know all that money, that $20,000 has been given to the chamber. So does that encompass the $330,000 or not? Or is
Yes.
it just a line item column?
What I meant to indicate there was the $58,000 is the committed investment in economic development stated, and then the $20,000 was layered on as additional, and it's in that sponsorship line item up above. But
Okay.
I wanted to call it out and note it there so that it didn't get lost.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah.
So just so I know that, because as I look at this,
Sure.
to make sure the numbers are
Understand.
that it's all in there.
Understand. Yeah,
Thank
we went
you.
from 88 previously to 78 in the composition of 50 and 20, or 58 and 20. And now the proposal is just 60, I think. I don't remember what the
Whatever
initial
We're
was.
going to talk about that too
Okay.
tonight.
So,
Yeah,
so with that being said, and I do appreciate you sharing what the county and the other municipalities are giving. So they're giving $30,310. We in Fulton are about 28% of the county total. And we're giving a large share. So you can see where we're coming from on some of it as well.
absolutely.
You know, the population-wise and what's going on in the county versus the city. I think that needs to be taken into account a little bit as well.
And that's why we pulled together, we appreciated the question, and haven't looked at it, in quite the encapsulated way. So I couldn't answer the question the other day, but we can now. Also, we wanted to isolate and highlight the other sources of revenue that also support the economic development work that we do. Economic development supports existing businesses. The best way to keep your economic development is to keep the existing businesses you have. And so the membership supports that economic development work as well, and other corporate donors do as well.
So, Lau,
Yes, sir.
we've got essentially 2 more meetings this year, or 3 more meetings this year, right?
Correct.
Right.
3.
3? So, is this a 1-meeting
Yes.
vote to
Yes.
approve?
This would be a resolution, so
Okay.
yes.
So, am I assuming that in the interim, maybe before the next meeting, you and Bill and the chamber will get together and hash out a mutually agreeable contract that we can vote on, that the board of the chamber agrees to?
It still would have to go to the chamber board.
Yeah.
Well,
Courtney, do they have your hybrid?
What did
Do
you
they have your hybrid?
Yes, I sent it, yes.
I think we'd
Sorry, the
like to,
question, I'm sorry, the question was whether or not the chamber had received a hybrid contract, and that was the document I sent on Friday.
Right.
so what we probably need to do is hash out exactly what we want to send back to them tonight.
okay.
And that gives them time to look at it before our next meeting and talk to me or us or whoever and say, hey, this is cool, this is not cool.
Yeah, it'd be nice to have a mutually agreed upon,
Yes.
document that we both expect to pass.
Yeah,
Right.
and obviously you can't make the decision for the whole board
Correct.
tonight, so you'd have
Right.
to take that back and,
Right,
yep. So
absolutely.
So it sounds like most everybody's in agreement that we're talking a 1-year contract, not a 3-year.
And that's fine.
That we're not talking about the clause that says this automatically renews.
It's
That's
your
not gonna be
preference.
there.
What we were trying to do there, if I can,
Yeah.
was to remove this barrier, if you will, that makes us feel like we have to rehash the entirety of the contract every year, right? If the amount is what's in question, if our dialogue is producing good understanding and we're understanding is the work being done, then the words on the paper, are functional and they're doing what they're doing. It's the dollar amount
Right.
that
And that's got to be approved every year.
Absolutely, and subject to appropriation. So whatever language needs to be in there to support the city's requirements for a multi-year agreement, we didn't know what that was. And so we put forward the idea, if the multi-year agreement makes the process smoother in some fashion, that's what we were after,
gotcha.
Okay,
okay?
yeah.
And it allows for more stable budgeting
Absolutely,
and things like that. It
Absolutely.
allows for the work to continue
absolutely,
rather than holding back on work,
yes,
waiting
Yes.
on this whole contract to get approved
Yes.
is how I'm interpreting what you're saying.
absolutely,
But
absolutely.
even if you have a 3-year contract, you can't count on
Correct.
year number two's dollars,
Correct.
because they might change.
Yep.
Because we have to approve that change.
Right.
Right.
We can't today, or this year, authorize X dollars for 2023,
Right.
right?
Correct.
So let's just do a one-year contract,
No,
and then that kind of forces us to get back together again, whether we like it or not.
Hopefully we like it.
We gotta get back together.
I know, and ideally, that ongoing dialogue would let us know what the outlook looks like,
Right.
right? And so there comes stability in that. Stability of budgeting is one thing, and we'd love that, okay? And with dialogue, okay, we can have a feeling about what the budget looks like. But what has been so difficult has been that we just have to stop and give so much time and focus to this discussion and conversation, and it just stops all other work, frankly.
Right.
And we don't want that. We want it to be so much smoother than it is.
Okay.
And I know you do too. I know you do too.
Kim, when does your board, when do you meet again?
The first Tuesday of each month is the chamber board meeting.
Okay, so, and I know it's kind of short notice, I'm just kind of throwing it out there. How would the council feel about a quick retreat in the next week or so to kind of discuss and come up with a plan amongst ourselves? I know we had some emails that went out earlier this week. I personally don't feel that they were very fruitful. But perhaps if we spoke all together and came up with something that we could just present, we might be it might be more beneficial.
We're on a time limit.
I would agree with
Tuesday
that.
is
I understand we're on a
next
time
week,
limit, and
Definitely.
you know,
Yeah,
but I think it would be good for us to discuss this.
election day.
Like Kim said, instead of doing this at a council meeting, we need to come up with something that we present to them and say, here's what we have, instead of doing that here.
Oh, I think tonight we
Is your
should make a
board meeting
decision.
next Tuesday, November 3rd, Election Day?
It is.
That's election.
Thank you.
I think we need to move forward tonight. That's personally my opinion. I think we've waited long enough. I think that there needs to be
Seems like
decided.
we've answered most of the questions except for the elephant in the room, and that's the number that we would
Sure.
propose.
Yes.
And please
I
understand.
agree with you, Mary. I don't know why we want to wait. Let's
I
just
just
talk
don't
it out
wanna.
tonight.
Okay.
Yeah.
Get it done.
And please
I think so, too.
understand, the work's going to go on in the spirit that it needs to be done.
Mm-hmm.
The work's going to go
And
on,
all need to be out in public. Yep.
best to our abilities.
Yep. Not knowing what the work may be next year. If we're still in COVID all year, it's going to be the same.
You know what? If the world's still in COVID, the world needs us more than it does this year.
Yeah.
And so we're going to be there, and we're going to be fighting and working with our businesses and supporting them, and hoping to keep that sales tax number stable and increasing, as it has been.
And I said it at our meeting last week, and I'll say it again. I appreciate the fact that, Tamara, you guys stepped up to the plate with this whole pandemic, and were asked to do
Yes.
things that
Yes.
you had no idea that you'd be doing. And the businesses appreciated that, and we all appreciate it too.
Kudos to her
Yep.
and her team. Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Kim.
Kim, I have one more question. I'm sorry. I hear us moving closer to something, and then so I have to ask the question.
Sure.
Is salary and benefits for 3 employees, is that a correct number?
Yes. Salary, insurance.
Sure.
Payroll taxes, all inclusive. Okay. And please bear in mind, this year, we had a grant that partially supported the position that Shane Moriarty carries today. And so that full price tag comes onto the chamber next year.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so in the original contract proposal, we had put the number 60 in. How does everybody feel about that number? I know I did get an email from a couple of you that entertained the idea of sticking with the 78 number for next year.
I'd like to make a motion to do the 78 in a one-year contract with the proposed changes from the chamber.
Second.
Have a motion and a second.
Really quickly, I apologize. I heard 78,000 in a one-year contract.
One-year contract and the proposed changes from the chamber.
Okay, thank you.
Could you read that, please?
Yes, just one moment. All right, so the motion was to authorize a contract, which will be a resolution at the next meeting, just for clarification, at $78,000 for 1 year with the chamber's proposed changes to the contract.
So leaving the green, the
I bel-
renewal, automatic renewal thing in it?
That would need to be removed.
No,
Okay, I do think,
I think it has to go to the hybrid.
right, so I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, Councilwoman Seebacher, are you talking about the hybrid contract, which is the chamber's wording, but it does remove that evergreen clause, and we would make it a one-year contract, that's what you're
Correct.
saying?
So you're talking about this one?
Yes.
Okay, so what we're looking at, everybody, is what we're calling the hybrid contract, which is exactly what the chamber provided us with their proposed changes, the highlighted items, which were the things we talked about the other night, and that includes us removing that evergreen clause and that 3-year contract term. So that's the document we're looking at right now.
And if we pass or fail this, we can also make another motion for other changes that we've talked about tonight too. It might be a little cleaner to do that in a separate motion. Would you agree, Madam Clerk?
Right, so, and like I said, what we're going to do is, assuming that we move forward with Councilwoman Seebacher's motion tonight, it's really going to be authorizing me to draft that contract and have it ready for our next council meeting. That would then in turn mean that we would probably let the motion, or I'm sorry, the contract we have on our agenda tonight, we would have that one die. Obviously, we wouldn't have both of them. So this motion is really more so to put it on the next council agenda with those proposed changes.
And Madam Clerk, if I can clarify it, it actually says that we're going to submit that to the chamber for their review at their board meeting also, or prior to our next
Right,
meeting.
and so it would go, I'm assuming it would go to, you're here, so you're hearing that communication, thank you. So it's obviously going to go, if you guys make that motion tonight, they're under the assumption that we're going to have it on our next agenda, and that that's the direction we want to take, and that you guys would then assumedly pass that contract at our next meeting.
Would
Or-
we need to make some
Or
sort of...
have more
and-
communication.
And they'd be able to review it beforehand.
Kim, I'm sorry.
Or-
I can't hear you.
I can't hear you at all, Kim, I'm sorry.
What I said was, hearing this discussion, and if you vote on this tonight, Chamber has heard that and would take this version to the Chamber Board meeting on November 3rd, discuss it there, and if it's acceptable, pass it and be ready to act when you act. If it's not acceptable, then we would have additional discussion.
Continued conversation.
Yeah.
Can we put something in there, or do we need to do it at the next meeting where we would make some sort of mandatory biannual June, July, and then sometime around this time of year again? Would we do that now or at the next meeting when they've reviewed it and sent it back?
You could do it now.
Can
Yeah,
we
it'd be
can I
nice
amend
now.
my motion to add
Yes.
some sort of biannual meeting requirement,
Good point.
just to keep that communication open?
So for my
I still second
clarification,
that.
we're looking at the hybrid contract,
Yes,
but we want to add the semi-annual review.
yes, if that's,
That's acceptable.
and the timing of that can be,
Yeah.
but I
Totally
think June, July is a good
I think so too.
time.
Yeah.
Okay,
Sounds good.
all right, so again, just so we're all on the same page
Yeah,
here.
sorry about that.
No, you're totally fine.
Thank you.
We would be approving 78, for the next resolution, $78,000, a one-year contract with the proposed changes provided by the chamber, which is the hybrid contract.
Yes.
And then we would also have in there a clause for semi-annual meetings, so that way we have more discussion and continued dialogue throughout the
Yes.
year.
There you go.
All right, does that make sense to everybody?
Yes.
Okay.
Very good. Have a motion and a second. Any more discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the question. All those in favor say yes,
Yes.
and opposed, no. Awesome. Can't
5
believe
minutes,
it.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, sir.
5 minutes?
Yep, sure. We'll break for 5, guys.
I've been there,
Let's
it'll
see,
be
how-
9 years in February.
Can I get into this?
Out, we got like a branch opening up in Springfield, and we've got a St. Louis. Yeah. Oh, no, Mary. Yeah, that's for you. You and Mike.
All right. Nice little break there. We'll call this meeting back to order.
Hey, we're only on page 2.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor.
Oh, absolutely. Anytime. Yep. So we're to the point of our face covering ordinance discussion. The topic just seems to keep coming up, so we just figured to put it on the agenda. That way we're doing our due diligence and talking about it, thinking about it. We did have to implement some changes with staff and our facilities, and if you would, Mr. Johnson.
A week ago yesterday, we implemented some face covering rules for the employees. If you are in your cubicle or in your office, you do not need to wear a mask. If you're in a truck by yourself, you don't need to wear a mask. If you're working outside, you don't need to wear a mask, pretty much under any conditions. But we do require a mask if you're not able to maintain 6 feet, social distancing. If there's 2 or more people in a truck, all people in the vehicle must wear a mask. What am I forgetting? Help me out, guys. We want you to wear your mask if you get up to go someplace else in the building. If you're walking through, walking around. I've had one mini complaint on it, but I have asked several of the department heads if what they've heard, what they've seen, and pretty much, other than the one mini complaint, all the department heads have said it's just what it is. We view the mask as being an extension of their safety gear. So if someone, when we realize, if you go in my office right now, as I walk out the door, I have a big note that says mask. Because, I got up and walked out, left my mask on my desk, and it's like, I get outside, it's like, oh crap, I gotta sneak back before anybody sees me. But we're gonna go off intent. If the employee's intent was to not wear the mask and just push the system, then we'll deal with it. But if someone forgets and walks across the room without a mask on, it's going to be like, probably won't even say anything. They're going to get halfway back and they're going to realize, I don't have my mask on. And we've had just amazing compliance with it. And I said this will stay in effect until some given date when the numbers in Fulton decrease to some very nice 7-day rolling average. I don't know what that number is yet. If it comes down to 15 and levels off, maybe after a couple weeks there we might. If it comes down to 20 and then 15 and we get all the way to 10 and it's down there for just 10 for 7 days, we might do it then. Or I just don't know, but we'll know when we get there. But we're just trying to give every employee the opportunity to be safe. We also, just today, ordered a bunch of automatic hand sanitizing stations. Talked to Gary Youngerman. He is going to declare them as a eligible expense through CARES Act. So we're going to end up paying 20%. I think we ordered 40. 20 of them are going to be wall mounted. 20 of them will have stands. But I talked to Daryl and Kyle about the warehouse, and they would like one at the doors and then in the vestibule. At the warehouse, one vestibule will do the gas department and then the mapping room. Another vestibule goes in and then serves both the water and the electric department. So we'll have one in those areas. We'll have one at the main doors coming in. Probably those will be wall mounted in the vestibules just because they're high traffic area. We don't want the stand there. We're getting some for the fire stations. Steve Meyer said they already pretty much got their place covered. We'll get them for solid waste, we'll get them for animal control, animal shelter, solid waste barns at the warehouse, get them for the service garage. We're just gonna spread these 40 out amongst all the various departments and see how far they go. We actually counted up how many we thought we needed. We were up to about 35. And then every time somebody would say, oh, I would kind of have one here, so we bumped it up to 20 of each. And I think the wall-mounted units, we actually bought one. There's 150 of these out there on the market. We did a little research, and we bought one, got it. It's actually over there in kind of our area right now. It's kind of a test unit. Everybody that's used it likes it, but we didn't want to buy 40 of something that we didn't like. But we like this one. It's going to go out anyway. Any questions on that? Any questions on what we've done?
Without getting into any detail, we did fog one of our buildings where we had a positive, is that right?
Yes, we've made an attempt to, every time a positive shows up, to have Jeremy get the machine and fog the area. Gary Youngerman just told us late last week that he is buying a small one for the police department, right? Did you know that? Yeah, the CARES money is buying every police department in the county a small misting unit.
Good.
Handheld unit.
And making the assumption that, we'll be able to use that for other areas too if we find the need, or we want to just do something quick and fast. Let's go get theirs instead of going and getting one from the county. But the county's been very good about letting us use theirs. We were kind of worried about scheduling and being able to get it when we need it and want it, but the county's machine has been, at least for the times we've desired to have it and use it, very readily available. All right?
Yeah, thank you.
Cool, thanks. And we've been getting updates from the county as to specific numbers of Fulton.
Sporadically.
Yeah, not consistently, but I know they're trying to give the numbers, I believe, in such a way that it's presenting a true picture of what's going on. One day, for instance, they might not get the reported recoveries as fast. But that's kind of speculation on my part, but I think we're getting a fair representation.
But every time the city of Fulton gets a number, we have put that number out there.
I appreciate that, thank you.
So, is there a way for us to get Darren to pull up the COVID-19 county site? Because this is something new that they have on their site that would be really, really helpful to know all the information. Can you pull it up and put it on a screen, Darren? Thank you. It's kind of a lot of the information that we ask for in writing. You know what I mean, Darren?
Yeah, I know.
Thank you. It's not completely updated yet, but it certainly looks like maybe they're working the way it should be working.
Oh, that's new.
Huh?
That's new.
Yeah, it's brand new. It wasn't even there earlier. Sorry to put you on the spot there.
Oh, no, you're fine.
I just saw it.
Yeah, I think I saw that yesterday. And,
I didn't see it yesterday, but
It just got put up.
oh, did it? Oh, that's something
You're
different.
talking about with the charts?
yeah.
Yeah.
The charts and the graphs with ages and male, female.
Oh, shoot.
I haven't seen that.
I didn't see that.
I thought you might want to see it.
Yeah.
So anything like that, we could share. It's public information. We could put it on our Fulton website as well as Facebook.
And that's moving more the direction of.
Is this what you're talking about?
That's it.
Yes.
Yep.
Now, it does say that the right side there is not updated as of yet. the best I could read it on my,
Yeah.
Yeah, it's still got coming soon, hospitalization and gender.
but I think that's certainly information
That's nice.
that we could use to make a
Callaway.
decision on.
Callaway County.
For sure.
Because what else, and Jeff,
Yes.
do you remember what else we asked for other than the items that are on that?
The other item from my line of work that is extremely important in understanding the spread of the disease is the positivity rate. That takes the number of people that are tested,
Correct.
and it tells you the rate of those people tested, how many of them come back positive. The kind of the threshold that most of Missouri and most of the country is using is anything greater than 10. So anything greater than 10% that are coming back positive means that that disease is spreading, I won't say uncontrolled, but it's spreading at a rate more than what is desired. I do not know what Callaway County, I was trying to look it up real quick to see if it was listed anywhere, but I can tell you that Cole County yesterday was reported at almost 21% positivity rate.
Wow.
So that's twice the desired threshold. I can tell you that hospitalizations are way up in Cole County and in Boone County due to COVID-related symptoms and disease state. I can tell you that we call it the hourglass of the state of Missouri. It's everything from Kirksville to Springfield and east and west except for St. Louis and Kansas City. So if you imagine that design kind of looks like an hourglass. We have been on ICU and PCU diversion for the past 3 weeks. In the 7 years that I've worked at my current employer, we have never been on ICU diversion for greater than a week at a time, and it's been 3 weeks ongoing for the entire region that's on diversion for ICU and PCU beds. We have, the disease is continuing to spread.
What's PCU?
It's the step-down unit. So it's intensive
on the
care
floor.
and then
On the floor.
The next
on the
one,
floor. It's the not quite ICU level.
I know the news this afternoon, the local news said Cole County was one of the worst counties in the state in terms of infection rates. They said it was red, whatever,
And that's the
worst.
they call it the R-naught, and I can't even really tell you what R-naught stands for. We've just used it so much, it's become its own
Yeah.
word to me. But it's the spreading. It's the rate of spread within a community.
Well, if the last 3 weeks is any indication what the next couple months is going to look like, it's definitely looking like it's getting worse. But
I know we've been going on the numbers from the county, and I'm gonna just throw out round numbers, but like 200 was the total infection, the numbers in the county, and Fulton city limits was 20 approximately. So we were running, I'm gonna say 15% of the county being infected, which is really hard to kill. If you put an ordinance in, it's hard to tamp down only 15% of the infections. But then recently they pulled up the FRDC numbers, which is half of what they were counting for the county. So rather than 15%, now we're at 30%. So really the numbers up here say it's 122 infected in Callaway County and 30-something are in Fulton, which is getting a lot worse, percentage-wise. But, I know, I don't
But to
know. speak
speak out of the other side of the conversation, 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, we had 1,000 Callaway County numbers are still extremely low compared to our population base,
Right?
and Fulton numbers are extremely low. I mean, even at 35 active cases out of 13,000 people,
0.002.
that is 0.3%.
Yeah.
It's 3.
3%, yeah.
I mean, that's, there are many other diseases that have a higher prevalence rate in this city right now than COVID does. But we are also 3 times what we were a month and a half ago, and that number's not going down.
I believe the people that are wearing masks will continue to wear masks. That's the sad part about it. I have a personal experience today where I know people weren't wearing masks, and a very dear friend of mine lost his wife today from the disease. It's sad because people didn't want to take the time to wear a mask.
COVID virus killed my uncle 3 weeks ago. He was in a nursing home since last November. We have been unable to even visit him since February for fear of bringing the disease into the nursing home. A staff member unknowingly was exposed and brought it into the nursing home. Within a week, 20 were ill and 2 were killed by the virus. It is a serious virus.
And
But we also have serious decisions we have to make of whether or not we pass a law on our citizens. That's the conflict that's in my head.
And I know Sunday I went to Walmart, you know, they've got a requirement that you need to wear a mask. Passed a couple of people that weren't wearing masks. Just, not that they were just blatantly not wearing them. I stopped off at Westlakes. They have the same requirement, and you have to trip over a table that's got masks they give away for free.
Yeah, Walmart's doing
And
it free too.
20 feet away from this table was an associate wearing a mask, helping 3 people who had no mask on.
Mm-hmm.
They're stupid. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
But that also
It's common sense. Wear a mask.
it also comes to enforcement of the rule.
You're right.
Walmart has chosen, Walmart passed a thing, every Walmart on the planet had a sign that said you're required to wear it,
Yep.
but there is no enforcement. The very next day, they sent a note out going, but you will not enforce it for fear of
Well, you hear
retribution.
every week, you hear of people trying to enforce a mask ordinance, and you get into fights, and
Yep.
I don't know what the answer is. People need to have some consideration for their fellow citizens. Wear the mask. It's not that big a deal. Except I can't see because I fog up my glasses, but that's,
Especially the last couple of days, huh?
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's places that, you're going to go and see the majority of folks without masks, I think,
Yeah.
generally speaking. You kind of know where you want to be and where you don't want to be, where you want to shop,
Yeah.
and
There's a
things like that. But,
Kiwanis is having a big bingo night in a couple of weeks.
And we will be 6 feet apart, and the tables are going to only have 4 to 5 people, depending upon the size of it.
Okay.
And there will be plenty of social distancing, and a mask is being recommended to wear by all.
Okay. That's good.
I can recommend.
Okay. I think we've done our due diligence and talked about this going forward. If there's a big spike again, let's talk about it. Let's get together and see where we're at. Unless I hear anything different. Speak now or forever. No.
Mr. Mayor, I'll just repeat what I've said all along. I believe that a mask ordinance should be part of our state of emergency ordinance and state of emergency declaration, and one more tool in that toolbox versus being looked at as a separate item.
So are we in a state of emergency?
No.
And we
We are
talked
not.
about that. We do not actually have to be in a state of emergency to pass the
Okay.
mask ordinance. So
We're in a
that's an
pandemic.
option. We could or could not do that. But I appreciate you bringing that to light, Jeff. And when the time comes, we will consider that as part of it.
So I guess we probably need to talk about it next meeting too?
Well,
I think unless it starts getting to be a non-issue, it's probably important to keep talking about it. Maybe we just keep this as a ongoing unfinished business topic to bring up and discuss. Is that what you're asking?
Yes.
I believe so.
I agree. So that's what we'll do for going forward for a while. Okay. Budget. Fun. We don't have any changes other than the change we made tonight, or well, that we're suggesting to make tonight with the chamber contract and as well as the trash recycling carts. So obviously those two items will have to be adjusted. And we'll end up pulling out of the general fund, I guess, for the extra 28,000.
Yes. 18,000. Well, no, sir. It'll come out of,
Yeah, 18.
for the past several years, we've taken those funds straight from utilities, so we'll go in and we'll modify the transfers from utilities to the chamber account.
Very good. Are there any questions or things that we've missed talking about on the budget yet?
I know we mentioned it last time. We will have our public hearing at our next council meeting, and there was a little mix-up, I think, with the paper getting it in, so we'll have it next time, obviously not tonight.
Very good. And
I know that we spoke directly about the increases for city employees, and I can't figure them out. So I would like to, if somebody could please send an email, get together with us on how we came up with it. If I look at what our employees for each department is, take the difference even from last year and divide it out, it doesn't make sense to me.
Well,
I understand there's some variance in there a little bit, but
there is going to be
huge
some modifications.
in some.
In some departments, there's new people. On many departments, we've had high-paid people retire, and someone comes in at a lower rate. I asked the same question. Michelle and Robert and Kathy, we call it the CWB tab. I'm not quite sure what that stands for, but CWB. It has been reviewed. The current personnel are listed on that tab, and you're welcome to come in and look at it with us. We'll show it to you. But in several instances, we're budgeting less next year than we did this year, even though we gave that 75 cents cross-hour raise. And that has to do with people leaving, people retiring, you know, or people moving departments.
And I'll just go to page 28, and I see $98,000 plus 2 employees on FTEs.
What page you say?
28.
28. Okay.
There's a $98,000 difference there.
Well, if you see
We went plus 2 employees.
there's two more employees.
And I didn't remember us being without an IT manager in 2020.
We didn't, but we moved it into finance because the IT station is right next to finance, and Kathy just utilizes the IT more than
Kathy.
everybody else put
You computer hog, you.
more than every other department put together.
But I would really like that to be checked out and relooked at, because, and I don't have a problem talking to you on the phone. Unfortunately, I probably am not able to make it during your working hours at this point. But
Call anytime.
yeah, because it looks really wacky in some situations. I did try to take in consideration 100% if we were splitting and everything else, but it certainly is not something I'd like to look at more and have looked at.
We will look at it, they will look at it again tomorrow.
Thank you.
All right. We appreciate each and every one of you scrutinizing this. It's always good to get some extra eyes on this and checks and balances. So,
Mr. Mayor, just another question on the budget for Kyle, and it goes back to the conversation we had earlier about the pedestrian walking between Collier and Westminster. Any of those conversations with MoDOT that you think would be significantly impacted for the budget for your department or the street department, that we just need to try and get an answer for before the next council meeting?
If MoDOT was able to do a cost share with us, that would, right now my estimate for a sidewalk on the east side would be approximately $230,000. Now that's with some city forces doing some of that work. And so, you know, if we were having to pay for half of that, curb and gutter, storm sewer, there's money in the storm sewer sales tax that could go to that could help pay for that. So I believe we're covered if that should arise.
Okay, thank you.
I don't believe it, I know it. So
Thank you, I appreciate that.
The other question that I have that I would like to be made sure we have it figured in is our large jump in the golf course, whether it's figured into salary or where that dollars, whether they're accounted for in the 2021 budget or not.
Okay.
okay, anyone else? Moving on to we don't have new business tonight. We'll do our council concerns. Starting to my left, Councilwoman Seebacher.
I wanted to just make sure that everybody is kind of thinking about our Christmas tree and the Festival of Lights, discussing whether or not we're going to do that. I know I did it last year and it was a lot of fun, so I don't know if, is the city, are we still doing that? Is that something that's
Down at the roundabout?
Yes, I have gotten an email.
No, it's park.
The Festival of Lights, is that what they call it?
Yeah.
Yeah, Festival of Lights.
Yeah, it's still on. It's a go.
I still want to do it, so if...
Yes.
I have gotten the email on it, Val, and I'd be happy to pay the money, but I might pass it off to you if you wanted to
Yeah, absolutely.
spearhead it.
Sure.
I don't know what my schedule's going to be like.
You got it.
And I have the box with all the ornaments and everything else.
Okay. And that was all I had.
Something fun. I like
Yes.
it.
It was fun. That's fun.
Councilwoman Reclus?
I have nothing tonight. Thank you.
Councilman Braun?
Yeah, there's one thing that we spoke about when we talked a while back, and maybe it was even at the budget meeting, and that's our wage and salary. And I don't remember whether we put a name to it, but we were going to get together some city officials and some employees, and then Ms. Seebacher asked if she could be the kind of the liaison between it. Did we put a name to it on the commission for salaries and wages and how that was going to go? Anyway, I'd like to know what the status of that might be. I'd like to know what the status of that might be.
Yeah, we talked about it, I know, after the fact, and it was just we were a little uneasy about including employees in that discussion. It just seemed that might be a conflict, but we'll talk about it some more. I honestly kind of forgot about it, John. But yeah, we've got time between now and next year to review salaries from different cities?
Well, we were
our
gonna put
size?
we were gonna figure out what the highs and the lows were, and,
Right.
I mean, there was much more to it than what I just explained, but I would really like to see that.
We will form a committee. What do you want to call it? Salary investigation
I'll
committee?
leave, it's your choice.
Okay.
Councilman Sabacher's the volunteered to be the liaison.
Oh, I can come up with something.
All right. We'll try to be working on that, be proactive on that.
And that's all I had this evening.
All right, Councilman Shiverdecker.
Yeah, actually, I do have something, and I know you guys really don't care what I've been doing for the last month, but I've been following around the bridge inspectors from MoDOT for the last month in the county.
Oh,
And I wanted to give one of the city of Fulton's employees a kind of a kudos. When we got to the city limits and started doing bridges, this gentleman pulled up, Mr. Scott Olds, and started talking to us, and come to find out he is one of the inspectors for the city. So he followed us around the rest of the bridges so that he can get the heads up on what's going on and report back to Kyle. So
Great.
I thought that was kind of a nice thing.
Very cool.
yeah, very, yeah.
Yeah, you learn so much from your peers that way, both ways.
Yeah.
Very good. Thanks for giving him a shout out there. All right, Councilwoman Pace-Nook,
I have nothing, thank you.
Councilman Stone.
I wanted Mr. Johnson to finish his comment of when the beautiful tree is going to go up in the roundabout. I got that asked of me twice so far.
Within the next week.
Oh, good.
Wonderful.
We made contact with the garden club. They have spent 2 days down there gathering seed. As I understand it, I believe that the downtown kickoff is going to be the first Friday night in November, if tradition holds. I actually have a call in to them, and they haven't called me back yet to confirm that. But they have given us permission to put the pole back up and set the ring. But they want to do a little more work in there before we go in stomping and tromping and set all the lights. But I'm guessing the pole and the ring will go up this week.
Either that or early next week.
But, because a week from Friday is probably downtown kickoff, so just kind of throwing that out there. It'll be done, it'll be ready.
Wonderful. Thank you, Mr. Johnson. That our community very much appreciates.
Oh, it's a great project.
It sure is.
That's it, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, Councilman Simmons.
No items.
Okay.
All right.
Mr. Mayor.
Moving on to resolutions.
Mr. Mayor.
Oh, sorry.
Just one more thing I wanted to add. Councilman Shiverdecker reminded me, a couple of weeks ago, the solid waste department came down my street and picked up our trash, and it made a huge mess. My neighbor brought it to my attention, and before I had the opportunity to go out and clean it up, they came back and picked it up and cleaned it up, and it was David Whiteside. So I just wanted to make known that he did that, and I appreciated it, and that was an awesome job, and kudos to him for doing that. They didn't have to, but I was thankful that they did. So
Thank you. Actually, when they called me, let them know that was going on.
that's awesome.
That's good.
Mr. Mayor, if I can also have an alibi.
Okay.
Just a huge thanks to the solid waste department for the citywide
The cleanup.
cleanup.
Yeah.
Last week, there was so much work seen by so many people, done by so many people, and just above and beyond even what we've seen in the past. I know that the crews were going around to neighborhoods that might not have even been on that particular day to make so that they could
Sure.
get a jump start. Let's go to areas that already has stuff out, even if it's not due till Wednesday. They were out Tuesday night
Yeah.
to make their Wednesday easier and better, and it was noticed by many in the community of how much work went into that they all did.
We have a great staff, and doing little things like we're doing tonight about requiring cans for recycling, that makes their job easier. So that shows a little appreciation on our part that we care about our employees too. So, all right. Moving on, to resolutions. Councilman Stone, if you would present Resolution 3383.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I would like to table resolution number 3383 until the next council meeting.
Really quickly?
Can we table
Sorry,
it
really
and-
quickly.
Or what's
Yeah,
my,
to
what's
remove
my?
it.
You're good, you're good, it's actually already on the table.
It's already on the table, yeah.
So, if we don't get a motion to remove it from the table, it dies. And that's probably the easiest thing. If our intention is to go ahead and let this one die, let's give it a second, see if anybody has anything to say. If not, then let's move ahead.
And then it will simply be represented as a new
As a new.
resolution
It will
with a
be
new number and all of
Yep.
that? Thank you, Madam Clerk.
Yep.
I assumed we needed to table this one again in order to make that happen.
No, you are
So
fine.
then, Mr. Mayor, I take no action at this time.
Very good.
Got it.
And we will move on to resolution number 3384, and Councilman Shiverdecker, if you would, in Bob's absence, present this for us.
Yes, sir. Resolution number 3384, a resolution authorizing the mayor on behalf of the city of Fulton, Missouri, to sign all necessary documents in relation to an exclusive beverage agreement with Jefferson City Coca-Cola Bottling Company of Jefferson City, Missouri, for certain parks and recreation facilities. I make a motion to consider Resolution 3384 at tonight's meeting.
Second.
Very good. And you'll have to refresh my memory. What was the holdup on this? Did we want to get something cleaned up on the contract?
It was,
The locations that it was required. That
Gotcha.
it's not in all city facilities, that it's just at Tanglewood, the rec center, and the swimming pool.
Yeah.
Yep.
And it's clean,
Gotcha.
it's
It's been
fine.
Okay. Any questions, discussion? All those in favor say yes.
Yes.
And opposed, no. All right. We'll move that forward. Moving on to ordinances, Councilwoman Sabacher, if you would, present bill number 1597.
Yes, sir. Bill number 1597, an ordinance adopting an official budget and capital improvement program and appropriating the funds of the city for the fiscal year beginning January 1, 2021 and ending December 31st, 2021. I make a motion to place bill number 1597 for second reading at the next regularly scheduled council meeting.
Second?
Okay, and we've already discussed the budget a little bit tonight. Are there any other questions or discussion on this?
Mr. Mayor, I have a question for the city clerk.
Yes, sir.
Is just point of order, can we do first reading of this prior to the public hearing?
We actually can, and there have been instances in the past where we've done the public hearing on the third reading. So it's just required that we provide a 14-day notice and that we give the public the opportunity to see and to speak
Thank you,
at a
Madam
public
Clerk.
hearing.
I couldn't remember. Thank you.
Good question.
Very good.
All right. Hearing no discussion, I'll call for the question. All those in favor say yes.
Yes.
And opposed, no.
No.
Okay. There's 6 and 1.
Yes, sir.
All right, moving on to bill number 1595. Councilman Braun, if you would present this for us.
Bill number 1595, an ordinance authorizing the mayor on behalf of the city of Fulton, Missouri, to execute an agreement with the county of Callaway, Missouri, for public emergency communication operation services for the city of Fulton for the year 2021 to 2022. I make a motion to put Bill 1595 for third reading at the next scheduling meeting.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. We did talk about this last meeting. I don't believe there's been any changes to that.
Correct.
correct?
There have been no changes.
And it's already in the budget.
Yes. I do want to correct
did see
myself, actually. I believe, Mr. Councilman Braun, you noted there was an error within the document last time. That has been corrected, but the bulk of that document, nothing.
Thank you.
Gotcha. Any discussion on this? Hearing none, I'll call for the question. All those in favor say yes.
Yes.
And opposed, no. Moving on, Councilwoman Pace Snook, if you would present bill number 1596.
Yeah, and if there are no objections, I'll do second and third reading tonight.
Absolutely.
Bill number 1596, an ordinance amending section 110-248 speed limits, paragraph 3, Fulton City Code by designating a speed limit for certain streets and establishing an effective date. I make a motion to place bill number 1596 for third reading at tonight's council meeting.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any discussion or questions on this? Hearing none, I'll call for the question. All those in favor say yes.
Yes.
Opposed, no. If you would again.
Bill number 1596, an ordinance amending section 110-248 speed limits, paragraph 3, Fulton City Code, by designating a speed limit for certain streets and establishing an effective date. Make a motion to place bill number 1596 for final passage at tonight's council meeting.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the question. All those in favor say yes.
Yes.
And opposed, no. Hearing the bill read 3 times, at this time, I would ask Madam Clerk to take roll call for final vote.
All right, Ms. Reclus?
Yes.
Ms. Seebacher?
Yes.
Mr. Shiverdecker?
Yes.
Mr. Simmons?
Yes.
Mr. Stone?
Yes.
Mr. Braun?
Yes.
And Ms. Paysnook?
Yes.
7 council members affirmative and 1 absent.
Okay, and our last bill tonight, Councilwoman Seebacher, if you would, bill number 1593.
Yes, sir. Bill number 1593, an ordinance of the City of Fulton, Missouri, adopting floodplain management regulations designed to protect the health, safety, and general welfare of the public. I make a motion to place bill number 1593 for final passage at this council meeting.
Second.
Having a motion and a second, any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the question. All those in favor say yes.
Yes.
And opposed, no. You've heard the bill read 3 times. At this time, Madam Clerk, would you take roll call for final vote?
All right, Ms. Seebacher?
Yes.
Mr. Shiverdecker?
Yes.
Mr. Simmons?
Yes.
Mr. Stone?
Yes.
Mr. Braun?
Yes.
Ms. Paysnook?
Yes.
And Ms. Reclus?
Yes.
7 council members affirmative and 1 absent.
All right, Madam Clerk, if you wouldn't mind doing the announcements.
Wonderful. So the remaining 2020 council meetings will be held November 10th, November 24th, and December 15th. Candidate packets for the offices of 1st through 4th Ward council members and city prosecuting attorney are available in the office of the city clerk beginning November 2nd and thereafter Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 5. Candidate filing opens on December 15th, 2020 at 8 a.m. and closes January 19th, 2021 at 5 p.m. For additional information, please contact my office at 592-3111.
Very good. At this time, we have no need for executive session. I would entertain a motion to...
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor?
Yes.
Yes.
All right. Great job tonight, folks.
Hey,